Well, hello and welcome to another Megaverse here with Pastor Tommy. Today we're going to be talking about a passage from the book of John. So somebody who got to live and experience what it was like to walk alongside Jesus himself. But before we get to that passage today, let's start with a little math trick. Anybody like math? All right, well, let's see if you can keep up here. So this little math trick I learned years ago, just kind of neat to share with your friends. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you pick a number between 1 and 10. It works with any number, but to make it simple, we're just going to keep it between 1 and 10. You pick a number, go ahead and say it out loud or write it down. You may need to write it down to keep up. We're going to do a few steps and we're going to see if you can get an answer, and I'm going to go ahead and write your answer on the board. So here we go. You got your number between 1 and 10. Let's say you pick 7. Your first step is to take that number you picked and to double it. So just times it times 2. So for example, I've got my 7. 7 times 2, I'm now at 14. All right, step number 2. Hope you can keep up. Now you're simply going to add 8. Just add 8 to your new total. So I was at 14, add 8, that takes me up to 22. Only a couple more steps. Step number 3. Now take that new total that you have and simply cut it in half. Just divide by 2. So I had 22, I divide by 2, takes me down to 11. And now for the final step. You take your new total and you're going to subtract the number that you started with from the very beginning. So for me, I started with 7, so I'm going to take that 11 minus 7. I end up with the number 4. Well, if you did the math right, you should have also ended up with the number 4. Just a neat little math trick. No matter what number you pick, you're always going to end up with the same answer. You know, this passage that we're talking about today is from John chapter 1, verses 1 all the way down through verse 7. Jesus describes who he is to us through this passage from John. Listen to this as I read this passage. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all men might believe." As you think about this passage from John, it kind of ties back to that math trick that we just did, and hopefully you got it right. You see that it doesn't matter when you were born, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter the color of your skin. You could just pick a random person from anywhere in this world and we're all going to end up at the exact same place. And hopefully we're going to end up with the same answer. You see, the question is then, do you believe in Jesus? Because Jesus says that he's always been here. He was here in the beginning, says the Word was there, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. He goes on to say that Jesus shines in the darkness, right? He is the light. He is the one that can provide salvation for you and for me. And I love the fact that he says, you know what? He desires that all men believe in him. So he desires for you, for me, for everyone to believe Jesus for who he said he was and who he is. And so just like that math problem, we think everybody ends up with the same answer. My prayer is as you learn about Jesus, you're going to end up with the same answer, because we're all going to stand before him. We're all going to end up at the exact same place, standing before God. God's going to look at us and says, did you know my son Jesus Christ? I know for me personally, I have known Jesus Christ since a child, and I believe in him. He's my Savior, he's my Lord. And that's my prayer for you, that you will believe that as well. So when you take your turn standing before God, he's going to look at you and say, yes, you arrived at the same answer. You knew my son, Jesus Christ, as Lord and Savior. Hey, thanks again for checking out another Megaverse here with Pastor Tommy. So glad you joined us, and hope to see you next time here on Megaverses here with Pastor Tommy.